Hey guys! Okay, so I've been saving up all the makeup that I used up in 2023, and there are actually 23 products that I finished this year, which was not intentional, but I think that's pretty cool, 23 in 2023. I've done this for the past few years, and it's always so fun and satisfying to see everything I used up over the course of a year. Usually the number is around like 20 to 30 products. I think one year I had 28 empties, and that was the most ever. I don't know if I'll ever top that, but 23 I would say is pretty good. I'm happy with that number. But let's take a closer look. I'm gonna take everything out and sort it by category. Okay, so here's everything all laid out. I have face products up on the top and then eye products here, lip products over here. So let's start with the face products. I'll just kind of give you quick thoughts on everything. Some of this stuff I just talked about in my most recent regular empties video, so I won't really spend too much time on those things. But in the base category, I did use up one primer, which is kind of a lot for me because I'm not a big primer person, but I loved this one, the e.l.f. Jelly Pop Primer. I feel like this is the only primer I've ever tried that I actually feel like made a difference, so really happy to have this finished. And I definitely plan on buying one of the e.l.f. Power Grip primers to replace it. We'll say I used up 2.5 foundations because one of them was this mini Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. And this I mainly use as a base mixer, so I'm going to count it as a foundation. This I had in the shade Too Fair, and for a while, like for the majority of the time that I had this, I just really wasn't using it. It wasn't a big part of my routine. But then I put it into my Project Pan earlier this year and started just experimenting with it and found I really do love it mixed with pretty much any foundation or base product. I like that this product does have a little bit of coverage, so it's not really going to dilute the coverage of your foundation too much, and it just adds a little bit more of like a healthy glow to the face. But instead of repurchasing this, I ended up getting the e.l.f. dupe of it, the e.l.f. Halo Glow Liquid Filter, and I like that one just as much, if not more, so really happy to have found a more affordable alternative to this. Then I did use up 2 full-sized foundations as well. This one, there is a tiny bit left in here. I am planning on cutting it open. I'm gonna go ahead and count it as an empty because, I mean, it really is like pretty much empty. And I was working on this for the majority of this year and even some of last year. This foundation was never ending. This is the Urban Decay Stay Naked Hydromaniac. I liked this a lot, but not enough to repurchase it because, as I've said many times before, I find the LYS Triple Fix foundation very similar to this, but I like it better and it's cheaper. So that's gonna be my go-to like glowy foundation. I also finished my favorite foundation of all time, the ColourPop Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Hydrating Foundation. This I had in the shade Fair 30N. This is perfect. I really miss having this, and I definitely plan to repurchase it at some point. Of course, I just want to use up some of the other foundations that I have as well, because I have plenty right now, but this is such a good foundation. I would recommend this to just about anyone. If you're looking for just a medium coverage satin finish foundation, it wears really well even on dry skin without being super dewy. Sometimes you don't want something really dewy, but you still want it to lay nicely over dry patches and texture. And this one is amazing. Great staying power. I never had a bad skin day when I used this, so really miss having this in my collection. I think I'm talking myself into repurchasing it very soon. But yeah, that is my top foundation recommendation of all time. I also finished up one concealer. This is the Kosas Revealer Concealer. I have it in the shade 1.5C, and I completely cleaned this out. I really enjoyed this. I can see why so many people love this concealer. It is really creamy and hydrating, but at the same time, it's not like a super sticky formula. Like it has almost like a gel sort of feel, yet really good coverage, like high medium coverage, and lays really nicely over fine lines. I don't find that it creases nearly as badly as most concealers do on the under eyes, but honestly, I think the NYX Bear With Me Serum Concealer fills the same role as this one in my routine, and I love that one. Of course, it's more affordable, and it also comes with more product, so I don't think I'd have a reason to get this again. I also used up 3 powders this year. The first one being another thing from Kosas. This was the Kosas Cloud Set Powder in the shade Airy. This one I didn't really get the hype, but then again, I'm not super picky when it comes to powders, but it definitely didn't beat my favorite drugstore powder, the CoverGirl one, so still really happy to have used this up because this was pretty expensive. This powder I actually both bought this year and used up this year. This is the LYS Triple Fix Translucent Setting Powder in Resilience. Yeah, I think I bought this in April of this year during the Sephora VIB sale or whatever they call it now. And then I used it up in like November, so I think it lasted me a good 6 months. But I definitely feel like I went through this more quickly than I do other pressed powders. Seems like most pressed powders come with about 9 grams, and this one only came with 6.5. So that's probably why I used it up as quickly as I did. But as I've said before with this powder, obviously I liked it enough to use it up, but I don't like it enough to buy it again, just because I went through it so quickly. And also this is one of those powders that kind of causes my makeup to oxidize a little bit. So those were the 2 pressed powders. I also finished a loose powder, and this container is actually currently being used for another loose powder. But this used to have the e.l.f. Halo Glow loose powder in it, and I loved this one. This is one of my holy grail powders. I already repurchased it. Love it. I had the shade Light, which is just like a translucent color. Honestly, looks a lot like the one that's in here now. Finished that up. That took me a while to finish. I do think it took me a while to go through that. Also used up a setting spray this year. This is the Makeup Revolution Fix and Glow Dewy Finish Setting Spray. I loved this setting spray. I think this is a great glowy setting spray if you're looking for something that doesn't feel too oily and dewy on the skin. Like, it does set down, but it gives a really beautiful glow. It's got a little bit of like a really fine shimmer to it. But I didn't find it to look glittery on my skin at all. I don't know if I would repurchase this anytime soon, just because I already have plenty of setting sprays right now. But also, I'm just not going for a super glowy look very much these days. So maybe one day I would go back to it, but I did really enjoy it while I had it. And this year, I can't believe I only used up 1 cheek product this year, but it was a highlighter, which I think is a pretty big accomplishment. This was the Becca mini highlighter in the shade Champagne Pop, and then I did end up reusing it to decant this lipstick to make like a blush lighter once I was mostly done with this lipstick. So that's why it has like some pink residue in it right now. But Becca Champagne Pop, such a classic. I did just have the mini of it, and I'm glad I only had the mini because I think the full size would have taken me 10 years to use up. So the mini was a good choice. But I definitely think there's a reason why these Becca highlighters are so iconic. Even to this day, I think the formula really holds up against newer highlighter formulas. Definitely a pretty intense highlighter, but I always loved just how smooth it looked on my skin. It's another thing that I enjoyed while I had it, but I'm not going to buy it again. And that's all the face stuff. I do feel like in years prior I had more in the cheek category, but you know, every year is a little bit different with Empties. This year was a big, as you can see, a big lipstick and lip liner year. But let's talk about some eye products next. I did finish 1 brow product this year. This was the NYX Thick It Stick It Brow Gel, and I really enjoyed this. I'm thinking about repurchasing it, but I'm not sure I want to, because the wand broke. As you can see, the wand is actually stuck in there. Towards the end, as I was like really trying to dig out whatever was left, the wand just snapped on me. And I know I'm not the only person that's happened to, because a few of you guys have told me the same thing. So I don't know if I would get this exact one again, but I did really enjoy this formula. It is very sticky and thick, as the name would suggest, so you have to kind of like that type of brow gel. But I felt like this had the perfect amount of pigmentation to where if I wanted to only use a brow gel and nothing else, I felt like this actually filled in my brows a little bit too, and I was often really happy with my brows with just this in it and nothing else, which usually I feel like I need to fill it in with a brow pen or something, or a pomade, but this just had like the right amount of pigment that it filled in my brows, but it also wasn't messy. And it's not a very wet formula, so I didn't feel like I had to worry too much about it getting on my skin. The only thing I didn't love about this was how big the wand was. Let me see if I can squeeze the wand out so I can show you. I felt like the brush was just a little too big for a brow gel. I wish it was just a little bit smaller, like thinner and shorter would be great. But at the same time, the size of the brush didn't really bother me that much. So yeah, kind of a complicated relationship that I have with this brow gel. But yeah, probably not going to repurchase this exact one. I'm interested in trying the one from Essence, because I know they came out with a similar one recently. Also used up 1 eyeshadow primer. These always take forever to use up. This is the CoverGirl Lid Lockup eyeshadow primer. The name is mostly worn off there, but I really liked this eyeshadow primer. I felt like it was very effective at preventing creasing and fading, which is really the main job that I want my eyeshadow primer to do. The only thing, I really didn't care for the packaging. I would just much prefer a regular squeeze tube, because once I got to the point where I couldn't get any more out with the doe foot, I removed the stopper, and then I had, I don't remember exactly, it was like 6 to 8 months more product left in here after I took the stopper out, which I don't know. It just got kind of annoying to use. And the other thing about this one that I don't like as much as the Milani eyeshadow primer is this one just leaves a little bit of a sticky feeling behind on your eyelids. So it doesn't set down to a powdery finish. And so sometimes I felt like my mattes would skip and just wouldn't want to stick to certain parts of my eye. when I blended them with like a fluffy brush. So I did have to make sure to set this primer, which is just an extra step that I don't have to take with the Milani one. So probably won't get this one again, but you know, it was pretty good. Also from CoverGirl, I used up one eyeliner this year. This is their Perfect Point Plus pencil liner in the shade Espresso. I actually have a couple more shades of this in my collection currently, and I really enjoyed this eyeliner, but I did have a different shade of this that broke on me. Like I wasn't able to twist any more liner out, even though I knew there was definitely more left in there. This one I definitely don't think that happened with because I used this a lot. It's one of those retractable pencils that like it clicks. You can hear that. So this right here is really just like the plastic piece. I know it looks like there's liner sticking out, but it's really just the plastic. But because I had a different shade of this break on me, I don't think I would get it again. But this was a good just brown pencil liner. I liked it because it was very smudgeable and easy to manipulate. Like I could apply it and then, you know, take an angled brush and wing it out or smudge it. But it also isn't the most long wearing eye pencil, so it's not the kind of thing I would put in my waterline, but just a good basic brown pencil liner. I have 5 mascaras. This is by far the biggest category, but mascaras are kind of weird because these aren't truly empty. Like these are just the mascaras that I used and retired this year. And I will usually use a mascara for up to 6 months. I know some people do 3, but 6 months has always worked fine for me. And every mascara I've ever seen has the 6-month period after opening symbol. So that's what I go by. So I'll just use it until the 6-month mark or until it dries out, whichever comes first. This really wasn't a great year for mascara for me. Most of them I liked well enough, but they would transfer or flake. So this is the Rimmel Scandalized mascara. This one I just felt like was very so-so. Like it just didn't do much for my lashes. Just kind of coated them in black, and I didn't feel like it was nearly as volumizing as it claims to be. I didn't really feel like it made my lashes stand out from a distance. Like you could see them up close, but not from far away. So didn't care for that one. This one was just so-so as well. The Essence Bye Bye Panda Eyes Smudge Proof Volumizing and Defining Mascara. This is supposedly a tubing mascara, I think. And it was smudge proof, but I did get some flaking with this, especially towards the end. I liked the brush on this. This has a nice, like reasonably sized brush. And I do remember starting to like this more and more the longer I had it open. I felt like it started giving me more volume, I guess, as the formula kind of thickened up and dried out a little bit. Not bad for such an affordable mascara, but not something I would feel the need to repurchase. I also had this mini of the Tarte Maneater mascara, and this was another one where it was fine, but I just didn't feel like it did that much for my lashes. This one has, I do like the brush on this a lot. I always love a silicone bristle brush like this. This is supposed to be a volumizing mascara, but again, I just felt like it didn't really give me much volume. If anything, it was more lengthening. Didn't do a whole lot for my lashes. And I think this was a smudger as well. At this point, pretty much every mascara transfers on me. I really should probably just start sticking to tubing mascaras. I know, you know, some people will use waterproof mascaras, but I just feel like they're so difficult to remove that it's not worth it. Then we have these two. These were in my most recent Empties video, and I felt really pretty similarly about these as well. The Milk Makeup Kush Mascara. This one smells like granola bars, first and foremost. I don't know what that's about. It definitely was volumizing, and it got more and more volumizing the longer I had it open. But it did transfer on me. So this was sent to me in PR. Usually I don't buy high-end mascaras unless they're on sale. Like I did buy this Tarte one as part of a set, but I don't usually buy full-size high-end mascaras unless they're just like the most incredible formula. Like the Urban Decay Lash Freak, which they don't sell anymore, that one was really good. And then this one was the Ciate London Triple Shot XXL mascara. I did really like the brush on this one. I liked just how thin it was, and this actually has some fibers to it as well. I loved the way this made my lashes look. Like it made them look super long and dramatic and very volumized as well. But this one, unfortunately, was very flaky. So really wouldn't recommend or repurchase any of these. This year was a good year for using up lip products. It's funny though, because as you can see, I didn't use up any lip glosses this year, which in years past, I think there was one year I used up like 4 or 5 lip glosses. I don't know, this year just wasn't a big year for panning lip glosses, but I did, however, finish 2 full-sized lipsticks, so that is an accomplishment. The first lipstick I used up this year, this is the CoverGirl lipstick in the shade Honeyed Bloom. This was a really nice lipstick, very creamy, definitely not a long wearing lipstick, but you know, I don't mind that. It was very hydrating and comfortable on the lips. This is pretty much the color that it was. And by the way, no, this does not come off. I know some lipsticks you can take off this end piece and there's more product in there, but this one does not come off. And then most recently, I finished up the Burt's Bees Gloss Lip Crayon in Santorini Sunrise. Really pretty, just a peachy nude lip color. Actually kind of a similar type of formula to the CoverGirl, like they're both just hydrating and creamy, not long wearing by any stretch of the imagination, but just a comfortable color to throw on. I also can't believe I used up 3 lip liners this year. 2 were in my project pan and 1 was just something I used up naturally. This is the Kokie lip liner in the shade Nude, and I already repurchased it, but this is my favorite. Can I show? Well, it can get you just a tiny bit of color payoff there, but this is just my go-to beigey brown nude. It goes with so many different lip colors, and I just like, it's just like slightly deeper than the natural color of my lips, and it's great for just kind of contouring the lip and very long wearing as well. And then let's see, this little baby here is the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Lip Pencil in Manic. There is absolutely nothing left in here. It's tiny. I wouldn't call this a nude, at least not on my skin tone. It was really, I mean, this is pretty true to color, just like a mid-toned rosy mauve shade. I actually ended up using this up mostly as a blush because this just wasn't a color that I was wearing on the lips very often. So I would just take some on the back of my hand and then pick it up with a cream blush brush. And it actually ended up being a beautiful blush color and very long wearing as well. Like lip liners usually end up making nice long wearing blushes. And last but not least, I used up the Mented Peach lip pencil. I've come to realize like most of my favorite lip products and cheek products are kind of like a nude peach sort of color, so I really enjoyed this. This I mostly used up on the lips rather than as a blush, although I did use it as a blush a few times. And I like that it's like a little bit deeper than a lot of peachy colors, but still not overly brown. I did calculate the total value of everything I used up this year, and it came out to $372 if we're going off of the full retail value of everything. Finally, I also want to show the breakdown of which products I used up through my project pan and which ones I used up organically. Okay, so the breakdown ended up being almost 50-50 actually. These were the things that were in my project pan at some point this year, and I used them up in my project pan. I mean, you know, some of them, like this was really close to being done when I put it in my project pan, so like I probably would have used this up naturally anyway. But those were the 12 things I used up in my project pan, and then these were the 11 products that I used up outside of my project pan. Of course, all the mascaras are going to inflate this number. I never put mascaras in a project pan because there's just no need. But a lot of these are like the more utilitarian products, like powder, brow, eye primer, mascara, liner, and then this lip liner. But I hope you guys enjoyed seeing all my beauty trash as much as I did. I always love filming these videos. I just think it's so satisfying and also just such a fun way to look back on the year, and it's kind of like a time capsule of all the products I was using in 2023. So thank you guys so much for hanging out today. I hope you had fun. If you did, be sure to give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I do also have a Patreon and a channel membership if you're interested in supporting my channel further. Otherwise, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, and I will talk to you again very soon in my next video. Bye!